review. Book one was all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. He's a debut author of the book Dead Man's Pacemaker, no other than Mr. Reza Rajebi.
Hello, Daniel.
Welcome to Book 101, Mr. Reza, and can you please introduce more about yourself?
Hi. Yes. Thanks for having me. My name is Reza Rajebi. I write under my own name. I write sci-fi, and I write political thrillers under the name Diako Hajir. My background is I'm an Iranian American, and I'm a doctor. I'm a physician. I live in Texas, and I have been living in the United States for the past 20 years. The first 27 years of my life, I lived in Iran, and I moved to the United States in 2005, and I live in, as I mentioned, I live in Texas now.
Mr. Reza Rajabi, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. Hoping for more and more and more empowering books like this to come. What was the central spark or real life inspiration behind Dead Man's Pacemaker?
Yes. So the reason I wrote this book, I wanted to look into the emotional and political complexity of being an Iranian, living in exile, being in another country, being part of the diaspora, and um, just listening and watching the homeland suffer, and not being able to do much, um, other than just carrying that weight of anxiety. So um, I decided to basically sit down and finally put things on a piece of paper, and get my feeling out there. Hopefully, the readers will enjoy it.
The title suggests a unique tempo, Dead Man's Pacemaker. How does this concept of an unnatural or deadly rhythm influence the plot structure and suspense?
Sure. So this is a political thriller. It has a certain element of espionage. It deals with trauma. It has a lot of medical thriller, medical drama in it. Again, this is going to my background. I wanted to write about things that I know, and I wanted to fictionalize that part of my life as well. So I decided to have the main character of the novel to be a interventionalist, to be a physician, a doctor who ends up being in a situation that he never expected, and in order to retrieve certain information from the Iranian nuclear program.
Your novel is truly in the present, Mr. Raza. And for new readers, how does this novel stand alone? And for returning fans, how does it develop Arman Pirozzi as a character's arc from the previous Persian mission novels?
Yes, so Arman Piruzi, as I mentioned, is a Iranian American doctor. He is living and practicing in the United States. He has a normal life. He has a job that he goes, an everyday job that he goes into, and part of him, um, part of him is suffering about what's happening in his homeland, but he doesn't really want to get involved directly with what's going on because like many of people in diaspora, he thinks that this is a lost cause. Maybe it's too late to do anything about Iran. There are without giving you too much information, there are certain events that happens in Arman's life that changes his mind, and he decides to go back to Iran, which he never wanted to do. He always thought that he is never going to go back because of the situation there and how the regime is um, acting against its own people, and especially uh, people who are the diaspora. He decided to never go back, but certain events in the book will make this happen. It will change his mind, and he decides to go back to Iran in order to prevent a war, which, as you said, it's very interesting because as we see the real life events unfolding, this is exactly what Armand Piruzzi in my fictional book was trying to avoid. So it's very relevant to what's happening. And during this process of going back to Iran, there is a reason that he is chosen by the CIA to go back to Iran because his medical knowledge is unique and it's needed to retrieve the information about the nuclear program.
Mr. Reza, balancing his medical oath with the demands of covert operations in Central to Peruzzi, how does this internal conflict manifest most intensely in this particular mission?
Yes, so this is the character arc that I wanted to create for Armand. The When I start the book, Armand is more like of a more pacifist person. He has learned from his normal life in the United States, um, being inside the system, he has learned to play it nice and play it safe. He is avoiding any conflict, even if you start at the beginning of the book. The way he's portrayed in this book, he is um, he is trying to avoid any conflict, work related, personal life related. And throughout this book, I wanted to take that element of being passive and create someone who is going to be actively helping a country, maybe helping his own countrymen to avoid a larger disaster. So he becomes, and I enjoy this. I used to enjoy superhumans. I used to enjoy when I was younger. I used to enjoy watching Superman and other characters of superhuman ability. And now, when I think about it, it's actually more. What should I call it? It's much better. It's much fulfilling to see a normal human putting themselves in a situation that will result in their change, and they're doing something that's extraordinary. So Arman is that type of character, and I hope that I was able to show that throughout the novel.
Faced with the novel's central threat, where does Armand draw his ethical lines? Is there a decision he makes that particularly defines his character in his book?
Yes, yes, very good question. I actually, I actually made sure that he stays with the elements of ethical rules that he learned throughout his life. There is a very dramatic scene in the book that he's actually captured by the IRGC, which is the militia arm of the Iranian regime. It's the people. It's the group that's actually in charge of the country at the moment. It's kind of like a governmental mafia that has control of every aspect. If you think about it, from the economical part to foreign relations to internal security, it has all under control. And he's captured by IRGC. And despite the fact that he is a prisoner and he's being tortured by IRGC to give up information, there is a scene that one of the IRGC officers is injured and nobody is able to save him. And Armand decides to actually save one of his own torturers. So that's going back to your excellent question. I really wanted to show that this person stays with his um, ethical lines and never passes the red line. So that's one of the very good scenes in the book.
Mr. Reza, how does Arman's Persian heritage specifically influence his perspective, decisions, or interaction within the high stakes environment of this plot?
Another great question. So for us as the Persian diaspora, we have been we have been living in this in all over the world. Some people estimate that there are about 10 million Persians living all across the world. They're just, they just had to leave for some reason, one reason or another. They left their country and they are living, they're basically cut between safety and responsibility. So it's very difficult for them to decide if they want to do something about what's happening in their homeland, or they at the same time they have their life, they have their work, they have their family that they have to take care of. So this dilemma, this challenge, I included this in the book because I feel like the Persians, they have a very unique situation. They had 50 years ago, they had a kingdom, they had a relatively good life, um, they had um, they had prosperity, they had happiness to some extent, and for some reason or another, which it's outside of the scope of this podcast, probably a revolution happened. A revolution happened. A certain part of population came to the streets and they wanted a change, and that change, although there were the people who were leading that change, they wanted to have a perfect life. They wanted to have a uh, equality. They wanted to have freedom. They wanted to have independence from what they were marching in the streets. That never happened. Never happened. The second day that the revolution um, uh, was established in Iran, they started killing people. So the Persians sit there in their home, like new country in the all over the world, and they constantly think about, okay, should I get involved with what's happening now, or should I just forget about it and just go back to my normal life? So this is the unique perspective that Arman has, and I think it applies to a lot of people in Iranian and Persian diaspora.
Mr. Reza, as an author, what are your short term and long term goals?
That's a that's an excellent question. So short term goal for me is to have this book gain some traction. Uh, I think I, I think in terms of fiction, um, what I try to do, I try to introduce in a in a in a book. I try to introduce what's happening in current Iran, and I try to introduce the Iranian people the way they are, not the way that you are seeing on mainstream media. I try to show that there are people in Iran who are freedom fighters. They're actually people who are trying to make change, and they are trying to find ways to to basically fight with the government and change the way things are in Iran. Um, my goal is to have short-term goal is to have this book have enough traction so the American reader, the regular American reader who is interested in um, let's say the Middle Eastern politics, maybe the world affairs, they get interested and they find this book and read it. That's my short-term goal. My long-term goal is to so I can keep writing, because I actually this was a debut novel, as you said, and now I published my second book, and I just I it turns out I love this. So so my long term goal is to establish as a writer, which has its own reader base, and that will help me to to be able to keep writing.
So, do you think you'll be the next Khalid Hosseini?
Oh, that's the dream. That's the dream.
Good luck for that. I love the novels of Mr. Khalid. So, how did you ensure the medical and technological aspect of pacemaker threat were both credible and terrifying?
Yes. Yes. So, another excellent question, Daniel. So, as a as a practicing physician, every day, I think there is nothing more rewarding for us to save a patient. So, there has been many in the field that I practice, which is interventional radiology, and probably that's kind of one of the less known fields of medicine, because I do image guided, minimally invasive procedures. I do surgeries without cutting people open, and I am able to save patients in on occasions that other specialties, surgeons and other specialties are not able to save. So if it was 20, 30 years ago, those patients with those conditions, we had nothing to offer. And now that has changed because of these minimally invasive procedures that we do. So we don't want any emergencies, obviously. I don't want anyone to be sick, despite the fact that my job depends on it. But I don't want people to be sick. But at the same time, I feel like the current situation after what happened with COVID and the whole epidemics and what happened, I feel like there is a kind of a negative view on some of the medical professionals, and I hope that goes away. And I hope that the mainstream media and podcasts and the new media, they will also realize that there are a lot of people who are out there trying to help and save people. And so part of my job becomes that excitement of doing those emergency procedures when you get called 2 o'clock in the morning and somebody is losing a lot of blood and nobody can help, or somebody has severe infection and nobody can help, and that's my role to go in there maybe 2 o'clock in the morning when everybody is sleeping. That's part of my job, to go in there and help that patient. So I have had enough of those procedures and patients in the past decade or so, that I made sure that what you read in um, Dead Man's Pacemaker is as close to the reality as you can imagine. Although, don't forget, there is a fictional component of this whole thing. But what is described as medical um, procedure in this novel, it's very close to reality.
Mr. Reza, what would be your advice for those people out there who want to be an author like you?
Oh my God, that's a great question. I think if you look at it, some people say that every story in the world has been told, and I tend to disagree with it. I feel like there are things, there are stories of people that we need to tell. There are still people out there that they have stories that people would be interested in. So I think my advice is to find the great idea. I think that's the main advice, to find the great idea. Without a great idea, I don't think writing is especially if you're writing fiction, obviously. Find a great idea, stick to writing. I think that's one of the things that you need to do. You have to try to write every day, even if you cannot write a lot, but at least try to write something every day. And I think the last piece of advice: find a good team of people. You need to have a team of people who have done this before, or they have helped people to do this before. And I think that will be great, because you need people to go over your ideas, to go over your writings, and give you honest feedback.
Thank you for your advice, Mr. Raza. And before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and book 101 review in fifth season too. Comedy 101 in second season, and my food 101 in fifth season as well. Geography 101 in fourth season, and my baby podcast Law 101 and Mental Health 101, Love Letters in fourth season, and Movie 101 Review and Music 101 in its fourth season, and Science 101 and Sex 101 in its per season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. Mr. Reza, what feeling or thought do you most hope lingers with readers after they finish the final page of Dead Man's Pacemaker?
Yes, so my hope is that people realize that life is like a flowing river. If you stop, it means you're dead. As long as you can, and as long as you're living, you need to keep going. And you need to try new things, and you need to put yourself in uncomfortable situations, and the lesson you learn from that will help you for the rest of your life.
Mr. Reza Rajabi, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world through your debut book. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your book itself?
Thank you. Thanks, Daniel. So, my book is Dead Man's Pacemaker, a Dr. Armand Piruzi Persian mission novel. Please buy it on Amazon. It's available on Audible. All other formats are available. And please visit my website, diacohajir.com, and subscribe for your uh, subscribing package. Thank you.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Rajabi because he is the next Mr. Khalid Husseini. Because if you support him, more and more and more empowering novels like this to come. So, Mr. Braja, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Daniel. Have a great day.
Monica people, see you soon.